Chapter 16. In the camp gate, Liu Bei shoots the halberd. At River Yu, Cao Cao suffers defeat. Advisor Yang Dajiang knew how to remove Liu Bei. "What is your plan of attack on Liu Bei?" said Yuan Shu. Yang Dajiang replied, "Though Liu Bei now camped at Xiaopei could easily be taken, yet Liu Bei is strongly posted at the chief city near. And I think Liu Bei would help Liu Bei if it was only for the grudge he bears against you for not having given him the gold and studs, grain and horses you promised. First of all, you should send Liu Bei a present whereby to engage his affections and keep him quiet while you deal with Liu Bei. You can see to Liu Bei after this is done, and Shuzhou is yours." Thereupon 200,000 carts of millet was sent, with letters by the hand of Han Yin. The gift pleased Liu Bei greatly, and he treated the messenger with great cordiality. Feeling sure of no trouble from that quarter, Yuan Shu told off 100,000 troops against Xiaopei. The army was led by Zhuge Liang as commanding general, and Lei Bo and Chen Lan as generals. When Liu Bei heard these things, he called his officers to take counsel. Zhang Fei was for open war forthwith. But Sun Quan said, "Our resources were too small. Therefore, we must lay the position before Liu Bei and ask help." "Do you think that fellow will do anything?" said Zhang Fei cynically. Liu Bei decided in favor of Sun Quan's proposal and wrote as follows: "Humbly I venture to remind you that I am here by your orders and enjoy repose as the result of your kindness, extensive as the heavens. Now Yuan Shu, moved by a desire for revenge, is sending a force against this place, and its destruction is imminent unless you intervene to save it. I trust you will send an army quickly to protect the town, and our happiness will be inexpressible." Receiving this, Liu Bei called in Chen Gong, to whom he said, "I have just received gifts from Yuan Shu and a letter, with the intent of restraining me from helping Liu Bei. Now comes a letter from Liu Bei asking help. It seems to me that Liu Bei where he is can do me no harm, but if Yuan Shu overcomes Liu Bei and comes to an understanding with the leaders around the Huashang Mountains, then the power of the north is so much nearer, and I should be unable to resist the attacks of so many leaders and should never sleep secure. I will aid Liu Bei. That is the better course for me." Now Yuan Shu's force sent against Xiaopei went thither as quickly as possible, and soon the country to the southeast fluttered with pennons by day and blazed with watchfires by night, while the rolling of the drums reverberated from heaven to earth. The 5,000 troops at Liu Bei's disposal were led out of the city and arranged to make a brave show, but it was good news to him to hear that Liu Bei had arrived and was quite near. Liu Bei camped only half a mile away to the southwest. When Yuan Shu's general Zhuge Liang heard of his arrival, he wrote letters reproaching Liu Bei for his treachery. Liu Bei smiled as he read them. "I know how to make both of them love me," said Liu Bei. So he sent invitations to both Liu Bei and Zhuge Liang to come to a banquet. Liu Bei was for accepting the invitation and going, but his brothers dissuaded him, saying, "There is some treachery in his heart. I have treated him too well for him to do me any harm," said Liu Bei. So he mounted and rode away, the two brothers following. They came to the camp. The host said, "Now by a special effort I have got you out of danger. I hope you will not forget that when you come into your own." Liu Bei thanked him heartily and was invited to take a seat. Guan Yu and Zhang Fei took up their usual place as guards. But when Zhuge Liang was announced, Liu Bei felt a spasm of fear and got up to go away. "You two are invited for the particular purpose of a discussion," said the host. "Do not take it amiss." Liu Bei, being quite ignorant of his intentions, was very uneasy. Presently his fellow guest entered. Seeing Liu Bei in the tent and in the seat of honor, Zhuge Liang was puzzled, hesitated, and tried to withdraw. But the attendants prevented this, and Liu Bei, advancing, laid hold of him and drew him into the tent as if he had been a child. "Do you wish to slay me?" asked Zhuge Liang. "Not at all," replied Liu Bei. "Then you are going to slay Long Ears?" "No, not that." "Then what does it mean?" "Liu Bei and I are brothers. Now, General, you are besieging him, and so I have come to the rescue." "Then slay me," said Zhuge Liang. "There would be no sense in that. All my life I have disliked fighting and quarrels, but have loved making peace. And now I want to settle the quarrel between you two. May I ask how you think of doing so? I have a means and one approved of heaven itself." Then Liu Bei drew Zhuge Liang within the tent, and led him up to Liu Bei. The two men faced each other, full of mutual suspicion, but their host placed himself between them, and they took their seats, Liu Bei on the right hand of the host. The banquet began. After a number of courses almost in silence, Liu Bei spoke, saying, "I wish you two gentlemen to listen to me and put an end to your strife." Liu Bei made no reply, but Zhuge Liang said, "I have come with an army of 100,000 at the express bidding of my master to take Liu Bei. How can I cease the strife? I must fight." "What?" exclaimed Zhang Fei, drawing his sword. "Few as we are, we regard you no more than a lot of children. What are you compared with 1,000,000 yellow scarves? You dare hurt our brother." Guan Yu urged him to be silent, saying, "Let us see what General Liu Bei has to say first. After that, there will be time to go to our tents and fight." "I beg you both to come to an understanding. I cannot let you fight," said Liu Bei. Now on one side, Zhuge Liang was discontented and angry. On the other, Zhang Fei was dying for a fight, and neither of the two chiefly concerned would signify assent. Then suddenly the host turned to his attendants, saying, "Bring my trident halberd." They did so, and he sat there gripping that graceful but effective weapon in his right hand. Both guests felt very ill at ease and turned pale. Liu Bei went on, saying, "I have tried to persuade you to make peace, for that is the command of the Most High. It shall be put to the test." He then bade his servants take the halberd outside beyond the gate and set it up. Then speaking to his two guests, he said, "That gate is 150 paces distant. If I can hit that left branch of the halberd head with an arrow, you will both withdraw your armies. If I miss, you can go away and prepare for immediate battle. I shall stand against either of you who does not abide by what I say." Zhuge Liang thought to himself, that small mark at that distance. How could anyone hit it? So he assented, thinking he would have plenty of fighting after his host had missed the mark. Of course, Liu Bei was willing. They all sat down again, and wine was served. When this had been drunk, the host called for his bow and arrows. Liu Bei silently prayed that Liu Bei would hit the mark. Liu Bei turned back his sleeves, carefully fitted an arrow to the string, and pulled the bow to its utmost stretch. A slight exclamation escaped him as the bow curved like the harvest moon sailing through the sky. Twang! Went the bowstring, and the arrow sped like a falling star, and it struck the slender tongue of the halberd head full and square. A roar of acclamation from all sides greeted the exploit. The multitude people often hail their praise. Liu Bei was a wonderful archer, and the arrow he shot sped straight. By hitting the mark, he saved his friend that day at his camp gate. Ho Yi, the archer of ancient days, brought down each mocking sun, and the apes that gibbered to fright Yang Yuji were slain by him, one by one. But we sing of Liu Bei that drew the bow, and his feathered shaft that flew, for 100,000 soldiers could doff their mails when he hit the mark so true. Liu Bei laughed loud at the success of his shot. Dropping his bow, he seized his guest by the hand, saying, "The command of heaven indeed, and now you cease from fighting." He ordered the soldier attendants to pour out great goblets of wine, and each drank. Liu Bei in his inmost heart felt rather lucky. His fellow guest sat silent, nodding his head. Presently Zhuge Liang said, "I cannot disobey your command, General, but let me depart. What will my master say, and will he believe me?" "I will write a letter and confirm it," said Liu Bei. After a few more rounds of the wine, Zhuge Liang asked that he might have the letter, and after that, departed. When the brothers took their leave, Liu Bei again reminded Liu Bei, saying, "Do not forget I have delivered you today." Liu Bei thanked him and departed. Next day the leaders broke camps, and the soldiers were gone. When Zhuge Liang had got back to the south of River Huai and told the story of the feat of archery and the peacemaking that followed, and had presented the letter, his lord was very wroth. "Liu Bei repays me for all my grain with this bit of play acting," cried Guan Yu. "He has saved Liu Bei, but I will lead a large army myself and settle both Liu Bei and him." "Be careful, my lord," said Zhuge Liang. "Liu Bei is braver and stronger than most leaders and has a wide territory. He and Liu Bei together make a powerful combination, not easy to break. But there is another course. I have found out that his wife, Lady Yan, has a daughter just of marriageable age, and as you have a son, you could arrange a marriage alliance with Liu Bei. If his daughter wedded your son, Liu Bei would certainly slay your enemy for you. This is called relative above stranger plan. This scheme appealed to Yuan Shu, who soon set about its accomplishment. He sent presents by the hand of Han Yin, who was to discuss the question. When Han Yin saw Liu Bei, he said, "My master has an immense respect for you, illustrious sir, and he desires to ensure perpetual alliance between the two families by a marriage, an alliance such as existed between the ancient states of Qin and Jin." Liu Bei was well disposed toward the scheme, but went in to consult his wife. Now Liu Bei had 2 wives and 1 concubine. He first married a lady of the Yan family, and she was the legal wife. Then he took Diao Chan as a concubine, and while he was living at Xiaopei, he had married a secondary wife, a daughter of Cao Bao. Lady Cao had died quite young, leaving no issue. Neither had Diao Chan borne any children, so that Liu Bei had but 1 child, this daughter, of whom he was dotingly fond. When he broached the subject, his wife said, "The Yuans have dominated the regions around the River Huai these many years. They have a large army and are very prosperous. One day, a Yuan will become emperor, and our daughter may hope to be an empress. But how many sons has Yuan Shu? Only this one, this. Then we should accept the offer. Even if our daughter does not become empress, Shuzhou has a new ally." Liu Bei decided to accept, and so treated the messenger with extreme generosity. Han Yin went back with a favorable answer. The wedding gifts were then prepared ready for Han Yin to take to the bride's family. They were received, and banquets and merrymaking filled all the time. Next day, Chen Gong went to see the messenger in his lodging, and when the usual ceremonies and greetings had been exchanged, the 2 men sat down to talk. When the servants had been sent out of earshot, Chen Gong said, "Who originated this scheme by which Yuan Shu and Liu Bei are to become connections by this marriage, so that Liu Bei's head may fall?" Han Yin was terrified. "I pray you not to let it get abroad," said he. "I certainly shall keep it secret, but if there be any delay, some other person will find it out, and that spells failure," said Chen Gong. "What would best be done?" "I will see Liu Bei and get him to send the girl immediately so that the marriage may be concluded quickly. If it happened thus, my master would indeed hold you in high respect." With this, Chen Gong took his leave and sought an interview with Liu Bei. "I hear your daughter is to be married to Yuan Shu's son. That is capital, but no one knows when." "That has yet to be considered," said Liu Bei. "There were certain fixed rules as to the period between sending presents and consummation of the marriage. Emperors, a year; nobles, half a year; high officers, 3 months; and common people, 1 month." Liu Bei replied, "As to Yuan Shu, heaven has already put into his hands the imperial hereditary seal, and he will surely arrive at the dignity one day. So I should think the imperial rule would apply." "No, it will not." "The nobles' rule, then?" "No, nor that." "The high officers?" "Not even that." Liu Bei laughed, saying, "Then you mean me to go by the rule for common people?" "Nor that either." "Then what do you mean?" Chen Gong said, "In the midst of the present troubles, when there is great rivalry among the nobles, do you not see that the others will be exceedingly jealous of your marriage alliance with such a high family as the Yuans? Suppose you postpone the choice of the day. Most likely when your fine morning arrives, the wedding party will fall into an ambush on the road and the bride be carried off. Then what could be done? My opinion is that you would have done better to refuse. But since you have consented, then carry out the plan at once before the lords hear of it, and so send the girl over without delay to Shuchun. You can hire a lodging there till you have selected the wedding day, and the odds are greatly against any failure." "What you say is quite to the point," replied Liu Bei. He went into the private apartments to see his wife, and told her the bride-elect would set out immediately, and the trousseau was to be prepared as far as it could be. On his side, he chose some good horses and had a wedding carriage got ready. The escort consisted of Han Yin and 2 of Liu Bei's generals, Song Xian and Wei Shu. The procession went out of the city to the sound of music. Now at this time, Chen Gui, father of Chen Deng, was placidly waiting till the evening of his life passed into night. Hearing this burst of music, he inquired the occasion, and the servants told him. "They are working on the relative above stranger device then," said Chen Gui. "Liu Bei is in danger." Thereupon, in spite of his many infirmities, he went to see Liu Bei. "Noble sir, what brings you here?" asked Liu Bei. "I heard you were dead, and I came to mourn," quavered the old man. "Who said that?" exclaimed his host. "Once upon a time, you received grand presents from Yuan Shu that you might slay Liu Bei, but you got out by that clever shot at your halberd. Now they suddenly seek a marriage alliance, thinking to get hold of your daughter as a pledge. The next move will be an attack on Xiaopei and, that gone, where are you? Whatever they ask in future, grain or troops or anything else, and you yield, will bring your own end nearer, and make you hated all round. If you refuse, then you are false to the duties of a relative, and that will be an excuse to attack you openly. Beside this, Yuan Shu intends to call himself emperor, which would be rebellion, and you would be of the rebels' family. Something abominable, which the multitude people would not suffer." Liu Bei was much disturbed to hear this. "I have been misled by Chen Gong," cried he. So he hurriedly sent Zhang Liao to bring the wedding party, which had been 10 miles away, back to the city. When they had come, Liu Bei threw Han Yin into prison and sent a reply to Yuan Shu saying curtly that the girl's trousseau was not ready and she could not be married till it was. Chen Gui wanted Han Yin to be sent to capital Xuchang, but Liu Bei was hesitating what course to adopt when he heard that Liu Bei was enlisting soldiers and buying horses for no apparent reason. "He is simply doing his duty. There is nothing to be surprised at," said Liu Bei at first. Then came 2 officers, Song Xian and Wei Shu, saying, "As you ordered us, we went into the Huashang Mountains to purchase horses. We had got 300 when on our way back, on the borders of Xiaopei, some robbers stole half of them. We hear that the real robbers were Zhang Fei and his soldiers, who took on the guise of brigands." Liu Bei was very angry at this and began to prepare an expedition against Xiaopei. When Liu Bei heard that an attack threatened, he led out his army to oppose it, and the 2 armies were arrayed. Liu Bei rode to the front and said, "Elder brother, why have you brought an army against me?" Liu Bei began abusing him, saying, "That shot of mine at the archery feast saved you from grave danger. Why then did you steal my horses?" "I wanted horses, and I sent out to buy them. Should I dare to take yours?" said Liu Bei. "You stole 150 in the person of your brother Zhang Fei. You only used another man's hand." Thereupon Zhang Fei, with his spear set, rode out saying, "Yes, I stole your good horses, and what more do you expect?" Liu Bei replied, "You goggle-eyed thief, you are always treating me with contempt. Yes, I took your horses and you get angry. You did not say anything when you stole my brother's Shuzhou." Liu Bei rode forward to give battle, and Zhang Fei advanced. A reckless fight began, and the 2 warriors kept it up for 100 bouts without a decisive stroke. Then Liu Bei, fearing some accident to his brother, hastily beat the gongs as a signal to retire and led his army into the city. Liu Bei then invested it. Liu Bei called his brother and chided him as the cause of all this misfortune. "Where are the horses?" said Liu Bei. "In some of the temples and courts," replied Zhang Fei. Liu Bei sent a messenger out to speak softly and offer to restore the stolen horses if hostilities were to cease. Liu Bei was disposed to agree, but Chen Gong opposed. "You will suffer by and by if you do not remove this Liu Bei." Under Chen Gong's influence, the request for peace was rejected, and the attackers on the city pressed harder. Liu Bei called Miju and Sun Quan to him to ask advice. Said Sun Quan, "The one person that Cao Cao detests is Liu Bei. Let us then abandon the city and take refuge with Cao Cao, from whom we may borrow troops to destroy him. If we try to get away, who will lead the van?" "I will do my best," said Zhang Fei. So Zhang Fei led the way. Guan Yu was rear guard, and in the center was Liu Bei with the non-fighting portion. The cavalcade started and went out at the north gate under the bright moon. They met opposition from Song Xian and Wei Shu's men, but the soldiers were driven off by Zhang Fei, and the besieging force was passed without difficulty. Zhang Lo pursued, but was held off by Guan Yu's rear guard. It seemed Liu Bei was not dissatisfied at the flight, for he took no personal trouble to prevent it. He made formal entry into the city, settled local affairs, and appointed Gao Shun as governor. Liu Bei approached Xuchang and encamped outside the city, whence he sent Sun Quan to see Cao Cao and relate the events that brought him there. Cao Cao was very friendly and said, "Liu Bei is as my brother." Then Cao Cao invited Liu Bei to enter the city. Leaving his brothers at the camp, Liu Bei with Sun Quan and Mi Zhu went to Cao Cao, who received him with the greatest respect. The story of Lu Bu's perfidy was again related. "He has no sense of right," said Cao Cao. "You and I, my brother, will attack him together." Liu Bei was very grateful. A banquet was then prepared, and it was late evening before the visitor left for his own camp. Xun Yu then had an interview with his master and said, "If you are not on your guard, Liu Bei will be your undoing. You ought to destroy him. He is too much of a hero." Cao Cao made no reply and his advisor retired. Presently Guojia came, and Cao Cao said, "I have been advised to kill Liu Bei. What of such a scheme?" Cao Cao, relying on Dianwei to hold the main gate, had fled in haste by the rear gate. Cao Amin accompanied him on foot. Then Cao Cao was wounded by an arrow in the arm, and 3 arrows struck his horse. However, fortunately, the horse was a fine Dawan beast full of spirit, and in spite of its wounds, it bore its master swiftly and well as far as the bank of River Yu. Here some of the pursuers came up, and Cao Amin was hacked to pieces. Cao Cao dashed into the river and reached the further side. But there an arrow struck his steed in the eye and it fell. Cao Cao's eldest son, Cao Ang, dismounted and yielded his horse to his father, who galloped on. Cao Ang was killed by arrows, but Cao Cao himself got away. Soon after he met several of his officers who had rallied a few troops. The soldiers of Qingzhou under Xiahou Dun seized the occasion to plunder the people. Yu Jin took his army, fell upon them, and slew many. Thus he protected and appeased the people. The plunderers, meeting Cao Cao on the road, knelt down howling and said Yu Jin had mutinied and attacked them. Cao Cao was surprised, and he gave order to Xiahou Dun, Shu Chu, Li Dian, and Yue Jin to attack Yu Jin. Now when Yu Jin saw his master and a great company approaching, he at once stopped the attack and set his troops to make a camp. An officer asked him, "The Qingzhou soldiers say you have turned traitor. Why do you not explain now that the Prime Minister has arrived? Why first make a camp?" Yu Jin replied, "Our enemies are coming up in our rear and are very close. It is necessary to prepare for defense or we shall not withstand them. Explanation is a small matter, but defense is very important." Soon after the camp was finished, Zhang Shu fell upon them. Yu Jin himself rode out to face them. Zhang Shu drew back. The other generals of Yu Jin, seeing he advanced thus boldly, also attacked, and Zhang Shu was overcome. They pursued him a great distance until his force was almost annihilated. With the miserable remnant, he finally fled to Liu Biao. Cao Cao's army reformed, and the commanders mustered. Then Yu Jin went to see his master and told him of the conduct of the Qingzhou soldiers and their looting and why he had attacked them. "Why did you not tell me before you made the camp?" Yu Jin related what had occurred. Said Cao Cao, "When the first thought of a leader in the time of greatest stress is to maintain order and to strengthen his defenses, giving no thought to slander but shouldering his burdens bravely, and when he thereby turns a defeat into a victory, who even of the ancient leaders can excel Yu Jin?" Cao Cao rewarded Yu Jin with a golden armor and the lordship of Yishu. But Cao Cao reprimanded Xiahou Dun for the lack of discipline among his soldiers. Sacrifices in honor of the dead warrior Dianwei were instituted. Cao Cao himself led the wailing and paid due honors. Turning to his officers, he said, "I have lost my firstborn son, but I grieve not so heavily for him as for Dianwei. I weep for him. All were sad at the loss of this general." Then orders were issued to return to the capital. When Imperial Legate Wang Zhe, bearing the imperial decree, reached Suzhou, he was met by Lu Bu, who conducted him into the residence where the decree was read. It conferred Lu Bu the title General who Pacifies the East, and a special seal accompanied the mandate. The private mediating letter was also handed over, and the messenger detailed the high appreciation in which Lu Bu was held by the Chief Minister of State. Lu Bu was greatly pleased. Next came news that a messenger from Yuan Shu had arrived. When he had been introduced, he said, "My master's project of declaring himself emperor is advancing. He has already built a palace and will speedily choose empress and concubines and would come to the south of River Huai. He is looking forward to receiving the fiancé of the heir apparent." Has the rebel gone so far? Cried Liu Bei in a rage. He put the messenger to death and Han Yin into the cage. He drafted a memorial of thanks and sent it to the capital, at the same time sending to Han Yin, the unfortunate agent who had arranged the marriage alliance. He also replied to Cao Cao's private meditating letter, asking to be confirmed in his protectorship of Suzhou. The letter was sent by the hand of Chen Deng. Cao Cao was pleased to hear of the rupture of the marriage arrangement between the houses of Yuan's and Lu's, and forthwith put Han Yin to death in the marketplace. However, Chen Deng secretly told Cao Cao, saying, "Liu Bei is cruel, stupid, and facile. The longer he remains, the worse." "I know Liu Bei quite well," replied Cao Cao. "He is a wolf with a savage heart, and it will be hard to feed him for long. If it had not been for you and your father, I should not have known all the circumstances, and you must help me to get rid of him." "Anything the Prime Minister wishes to do shall have my assistance," was the reply. As a reward, Cao Cao obtained an annually grant of 2,000 carts of grain for Chen Gui, and the governorship of Guangling for Chen Deng, who then took his leave. As he was saying farewell, Cao Cao took him by the hand, saying, "I shall depend upon you in the eastern affairs." Chen Deng nodded acquiescence. Then he returned to Liu Bei, who asked him how the visit was. Chen Deng told him, "My father received a generous annuity, and I was made governor of Guangling." Liu Bei enraged, saying, "You did not ask Suzhou for me, but you got something for yourself. Your father advised me to help Cao Cao by breaking off the marriage, and now I get nothing at all of what I asked, while you and your father get everything. I have been victimized by your father." He threatened Chen Deng with his sword. Chen Deng only laughed, saying, "Oh, General, how unwary you are." "I unwary? When I saw Cao Cao, I said that to keep you going was like feeding a tiger. The tiger must be kept fully fed or he would eat humans." But Cao Cao laughed and replied, "No, not that. One must treat the commander like a falcon. Not feed it till the foxes and hares are done. Hungry, the bird is of use. Full fed, it flies away." I asked who were the quarry. He replied, "Yuan Shu of the south of River Huai, Sun Si of the Southland, Yuan Shao of Jizhou, Liu Biao of Jingzhou, Liu Zhang of Yizhou, and Zhang Lu of Hanzhong. These are the foxes and hares." Liu Bei threw aside his sword and laughed, saying, "Yes, he understands me." But just about that time came news of the advance of Yuan Shu on Suzhou, and that frightened Liu Bei. How all this fell out will be shown in the next chapter.
Thanks for watching. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more excellent content.